Have you ever stopped to think that some things, no matter how harmless they may seem, carry within them a negative energy capable of transforming our lives in a subtle but devastating way? What if I told you that Padre Pio, one of the greatest icons of spirituality, warned his followers about certain gestures, gifts, and words that we should never accept from anyone, as they can bring us serious misfortune? Today, we are going to reveal the 9 things that, according to Padre Pio, can profoundly impact your well-being, your peace of mind, and even your prosperity if you allow them to enter your life. Please write the following in the comments. Padre Pio, protect me from evil. Imagine the following scenario. You are living your life, apparently normal, but without realizing it, you begin to face problems that appear out of nowhere. Your mood changes, your relationships with the people around you begin to deteriorate, and even your health seems to be affected. Have you ever wondered if this could be related to the external influences that you have allowed into your life? Perhaps you have accepted something that, at its core, carries such a strong negative charge that it is slowly eroding your inner peace. In this video, we will explore in depth these teachings of Padre Pio, not just as a spiritual curiosity, but as a true guide to protect your soul and your life from destructive influences. It is not just about avoiding certain things, but about understanding the reason behind these warnings and how they can save us from a future of hardship and sadness. What you will discover here could be the key to keeping your life in balance and in tune with divine blessings. Don't forget to share this information with as many people as possible. Now think with me. How many times have you accepted something without thinking about the consequences? A piece of advice from someone with dubious intentions, a gift from a person you barely know, or even words that at first seemed innocent, but later revealed their true poison. What if these seemingly harmless actions were, in fact, the gateway to a series of problems that could have been avoided? Padre Pio left us a legacy of wisdom, and today you will learn how to apply this wisdom to shield your life from energies and intentions that do not belong to you. This video is not just for you who seek to understand more about Padre Pio's spirituality and teachings, but for everyone who wants to live a fuller, more protected and conscious life. Let's dive together into these 9 fundamental points that can change how you interact with the world around you. By understanding and applying these teachings, you will not only be protecting yourself, but also creating a spiritual shield that will help you navigate life's difficulties with greater clarity and security. So, if you want to discover how to prevent negativity from entering your life and learn to recognize these signs before it's too late, stay with us until the end of this video. The revelations we're going to share can be the turning point between a life full of unnecessary challenges and an existence in harmony with God's will. And remember, by the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge you need to transform your life and protect your spirit against everything that might try to divert you from your true path. Shall we get started? The first thing you should never receive from anyone is evil words. Words have power. This is something we often hear, but perhaps we've never really stopped to reflect on their true impact on our lives. Padre Pio warned about the danger of accepting evil words, gossip, or slander from other people. When someone offers us words loaded with negativity, we are actually receiving an emotional charge that can contaminate our spirit. Accepting this type of gift is like opening the door for evil to settle in our hearts. Imagine the case of a person who constantly hears destructive criticism about themselves. Over time, they begin to believe these words, and this affects their self-esteem and their actions. Do not allow the evil of others to poison your heart. Life example. Think of Maria, a woman who has always been positive and confident. One day, she began to listen to a co-worker who was always spreading gossip and criticizing others. Over time, Maria realized that her view of the world was becoming more bitter and that her happiness was fading. It was only when she distanced herself from this coworker that her inner peace returned. Be careful. Right now, there is a person who always brings negative energy into your life. Be very careful. You need to protect yourself with a lot of prayer. You need to pray every day. Otherwise, your life will be at great risk. If you want protection for your life, you need to download the ebook, The Power of Padre Pio. This ebook contains prayers for all moments. If you want to live a life of divine protection, click on the link in the first pinned comment and download The Power of Padre Pio right now. Second, gifts with hidden intentions. Not every gift is a gesture of kindness. Sometimes what comes wrapped in pretty paper hides hidden intentions that can lead to big problems. Padre Pio teaches us that we should be cautious when accepting gifts, especially those whose intention is unclear. A gift can be used as a form of control, a trap, or even a way to create an emotional debt. When we accept something without knowing the true intention behind it, we may be opening the door for negative influences in our lives. Life example: John, a businessman, received an expensive gift from a new client. Initially, he was flattered, but soon realized that the client expected favors and privileges in return. Upon realizing the trap, John returned the gift and cut ties with the client, thus protecting his integrity and his company. Third, false promises. Promises are commitments that bind us to something or someone. But what about when these promises are false? Accepting a promise that will not be fulfilled can lead to frustration, disappointment, and even serious problems. Padre Pio warned about the danger of trusting false promises, especially those made by people who have no intention of keeping them. When we accept these promises, we place our expectations on something that will never come true, generating a series of negative consequences. Example from life. Clara was about to close an important deal when her partner promised something that seemed too good to be true. Blindly trusting, Clara signed the contract, but over time she realized that the promises would never be fulfilled. This disappointment cost her time, money, and peace of mind. Fourth, invitations to sin. We are often seduced by invitations that, at first glance, seem harmless, but which, deep down, lead us to commit acts that go against our values. Padre Pio warned us about the danger of accepting invitations that lead us away from the path of virtue. Whether it's an invitation to a party where we know there are questionable practices or to a business deal involving corruption, these invitations are disguised traps. Accepting them is like giving up our morality and allowing evil to enter our lives. Life example: Pedro, a young religious man, was invited by friends to attend a party where he knew there would be drugs and promiscuous behavior. Although reluctant, he accepted the invitation, thinking he could resist. However, peer pressure led him to act against his principles, and he ended up involved in situations that almost destroyed his life. Thursday, advice from negative people. The advice we receive shapes our choices, and these choices, in turn, determine the course of our lives. However, not all advice is good, and Padre Pio warned us about the danger of accepting guidance from people who have a negative or distorted view of the world. When we allow words filled with pessimism, fear, or disbelief to influence our decisions, we run the risk of straying from the path God has planned for us. A negative person often does not realize the impact of their words. They may be so caught up in their own cycle of defeatism that they end up projecting it onto those around them. Accepting advice of this nature is like allowing this darkness to enter our lives, blocking our vision of the opportunities and blessings that await us. Imagine that you have a big, bold dream, something that requires courage and faith. When you share this dream with someone who is surrounded by negativity, you are likely to hear only discouraging words. This will never work. "You can't do it," or "It's better to quit while you can." If you allow these thoughts to contaminate your mind, you may end up giving up on something that, with determination, could have been a great achievement. Life example: Carlos, a young entrepreneur, had an ambitious plan to open his own business. However, when talking to a pessimistic friend, he began to doubt himself. The discouraging words almost made him give up, but he decided to follow his heart. Today, Carlos's business is a success, proving that believing in yourself is more powerful than any negative advice. Padre Pio teaches us that we should seek advice from positive sources that inspire growth and faith, and not from words that sow doubt and fear. Sixth, involvement in unpayable debt. Taking on debt can be an immense burden, especially when we know we cannot pay it. Padre Pio always warned about the dangers of accepting financial commitments that go beyond our capabilities. The temptation to acquire something that is beyond our reach is great, especially in a society that values materialism so much. However, taking out a loan or buying something that we know we cannot afford is a decision that can have devastating consequences. Unpaid debts can snowball, growing with interest and penalties until they become unmanageable. This vicious cycle robs us of peace and traps us in a life of constant anxiety. Imagine that you decide to finance a luxury car, even though you know that your finances are tight. At first, it may seem like a good idea, but over time, the payments begin to weigh on you, and you find yourself deeper and deeper in debt. This not only compromises your financial health, but can also cause family conflicts and even health problems due to constant stress. Life example: Marta, a young professional, decided to buy a house that was far beyond her means. At first, she believed that she could handle the payments, but she soon found herself overwhelmed by debts that she could not pay. Marta lost her home and spent years trying to regain her financial stability. Seventh, associations with people of questionable character. The people we choose to associate with have a profound impact on our lives. Padre Pio, with his spiritual wisdom, warned us about the danger of maintaining relationships with people of questionable character. These associations may seem harmless at first, but over time they can drag us into dangerous situations, compromising our values, our integrity, and even our future. When we get involved with people whose intentions are unclear or whose morality is questionable, we are exposing ourselves to a series of risks. We can be influenced by their behavior, be led to make decisions that go against our principles, or even find ourselves in situations that can damage our reputation and our peace of mind. The old adage, "Tell me who you hang out with and I will tell you who you are," has never been more true. Our company reflects and shapes who we are, which is why choosing the people around us wisely is crucial to a balanced and virtuous life. Consider how bad influences can lead us astray. People of questionable character often have a distorted view of what is right and wrong, and by engaging with them, we can begin to justify behaviors that we would never otherwise accept. It is a gradual process where small concessions accumulate until, without realizing it, we are immersed in situations that we never imagined. Imagine, for example, that you start working at a company where some co-workers practice corruption, justifying their actions as necessary for success. At first, you may resist, but the peer pressure, combined with the promise of easy gains, can slowly undermine your resistance. If you give in, you may end up compromising not only your career, but also your moral integrity. Life example: Marcos, a promising businessman, was introduced to a group of investors who, although offering great financial opportunities, were involved in illegal practices. At first, he felt uncomfortable, but the prospect of easy profits made him close his eyes to the warning signs. Over time, Marcos found himself involved in a fraudulent scheme that not only ruined his career, but also left him with legal troubles and a tarnished reputation. Padre Pio teaches us that, as tempting as it may be, we should avoid associating with people who do not share our values. Integrity and morality are non-negotiable, and maintaining these qualities intact is essential to living a life of peace and harmony. Choosing our companions carefully is a way of protecting our spirit and ensuring that we are always walking the path of virtue. In a world where external influences are so powerful, remembering this teaching from Padre Pio can be the difference between a life of honor and one of regret. 8th, sharing inappropriate secrets. Sharing secrets is an act of trust, but it can also be a dangerous trap. Padre Pio, in his profound understanding of human nature, warned about the risks of accepting or sharing secrets that do not belong to us or that involve inappropriate information. When someone entrusts us with a secret, especially if it is something that could harm others or put us in compromising situations, we are dealing with a heavy responsibility that can have serious consequences. Secrets, by their very nature, have the power to create strong bonds, but they can also destroy relationships, reputations, and even lives. When we agree to keep an inappropriate secret, we become accomplices in something that can be harmful, and this puts us in a delicate position. Often, these secrets are shared under the guise of trust or friendship, but the real motive can be much more insidious, involving manipulation or emotional blackmail. Imagine that a coworker confides in you something compromising about the company, something that you know could get you in big trouble if it were revealed. At first, you may feel flattered to be considered trustworthy, but over time, this secret begins to weigh on your conscience. In addition, inappropriate secrets can create a power bond between the sharer and the receiver of the information. The person sharing the secret may, consciously or not, use this information as a form of control, knowing that you are now involved in something that you cannot reveal. This can lead to a toxic relationship dynamic, where trust is replaced by fear and obligation. Sophia, a young lawyer, was approached by a colleague who confided in her a secret about an illegal transaction that was taking place within the firm. At first, Sophia felt honored to be seen as trustworthy, but she soon realized that this secret put her in a compromising position. She began to feel the pressure of knowing something that could harm her career and her integrity, but that she also could not simply ignore. Over time, the secret began to affect her mental health, causing constant anxiety and a feeling of helplessness. Sophia had to make the difficult decision to distance herself from her colleague and eventually report the situation to the appropriate authorities, putting her own career at risk in order to do the right thing. Padre Pio teaches us that we must be extremely cautious when dealing with secrets, especially those that could compromise us or harm others. Accepting this type of information is like carrying a heavy and risky burden, which can involve us in situations from which we cannot easily escape. Trust is a precious thing, but it should not be used as a bargaining chip for manipulation or control. Knowing how to say no to sharing inappropriate secrets is a way of protecting our peace of mind and our integrity, ensuring that we do not get involved in situations that could stray from the path of virtue and honesty. New and last, conditional love. Love in its purest form is unconditional. However, Padre Pio warns us about the dangers of accepting love that comes with conditions, expectations, or demands. When love is offered with conditions, it ceases to be a genuine expression of affection and becomes a tool of manipulation. Accepting this type of love can lead us to lose our identity, our freedom, and our peace of mind. To love and be loved is a natural desire, but it is crucial to recognize when this love is being used to control or change who we are. Conditional love requires that you behave in a certain way, that you meet certain expectations, or that you meet specific demands in order to be accepted or valued. This type of love creates a toxic dynamic, where the fear of not living up to expectations becomes a constant, leading to a life of anxiety and dissatisfaction. Imagine being in a relationship where your partner only shows you affection or love when you behave in a certain way or meet all of their desires. Initially, you may try to adapt to maintain harmony, but over time, you will realize that you are losing your true essence. You mold yourself to meet the demands of the other, sacrificing your own needs and desires. This is not true love. It is a form of control disguised as affection. Life example: Laura, a young woman in love, entered into a relationship with a man who seemed perfect at first. However, over time, he began to impose conditions on their love. She had to dress a certain way, avoid certain friendships, and even change aspects of her personality. Laura, in her attempt to maintain the relationship, began to mold herself to his demands, but this led to deep unhappiness. Finally, she realized that she was living a life that was not hers and decided to free herself from this emotional prison. Padre Pio teaches us that true love is that which accepts the other person exactly as they are, without demanding changes or imposing conditions. When we accept a conditional love, taking on unpayable debt is a burden that can ruin not only our financial life, but also our peace of mind. Padre Pio teaches us to live within our means and to avoid the temptation to acquire more than we can afford. Financial freedom is a blessing, and falling into the debt trap can trap us in a cycle of constant stress and worry. Learning to manage our resources wisely and responsibly is essential to living a full and balanced life. Associations with people of questionable character are another aspect that can lead us into dangerous situations. The people we associate with shape who we are and the path we follow. If we engage with individuals who have distorted values, we can be drawn into practices and behaviors that compromise our integrity. Padre Pio teaches us to choose our companions wisely and to keep our integrity intact, regardless of the temptations that may arise. Sharing inappropriate secrets is a heavy responsibility that can put us in compromising situations. When we accept secrets that could harm others or compromise us, we are entangled in a web of intrigue that can be difficult to escape. Trust is precious, but we must be cautious about accepting secrets that put us in a vulnerable position or that could cause harm to others. Finally, conditional love is a form of emotional manipulation that we should never accept. True love is unconditional, free of demands and expectations that force us to change who we are. Accepting a love that comes with conditions is giving up our freedom and allowing someone else to control us. Padre Pio teaches us that true love accepts us as we are, without the need to mold us to meet the expectations of others. As we reflect on these Nove warnings from Padre Pio, we realize that they all have one central theme: the importance of protecting our soul and spirit from the negative influences that could lead us astray. Each of these lessons teaches us to be more conscious and selective about what we accept into our lives, whether it be a word, a gift, a promise, an invitation, advice, a debt, an association, a secret, or a love. The moral of this reflection is clear. True peace and happiness come from living a life aligned with our values and principles, without allowing ourselves to be influenced by external forces that can lead us away from our true purpose. Padre Pio shows us that by being selective and vigilant about what we allow into our lives, we can avoid many pitfalls and live a fuller life, in harmony with God's will. Ultimately, the choices we make determine the course of our lives. By following Padre Pio's teachings and applying these lessons to our daily lives, we can build a more solid life, based on strong and unshakable principles. The moral of all this is that we should always seek what is true, pure, and honest, avoiding anything that could compromise our integrity and inner peace. By doing this, we not only protect our souls, but we also move closer to a happier, more fulfilled life, in tune with the plans God has for each of us.